All right. I think we are gonna start our intros here. Our live stream is gonna start in a second, but it'll be up and running before you all start talking for sure, and before presentation. So we will be good to go. But I would like to thank you all for joining us tonight. Welcome to the District 7 rendition of our Budget Town Hall series. My name is James Kitchen. I serve as Special Assistant to County Executive Pittman, and I'm going to be moderating this evening's event. So this town hall is part of the annual Budget Town Hall series, and it's your opportunity to let county leaders know what your communities think should be funded in the fiscal year 26 budget. So this evening, we're going to hear opening remarks from your District 7 County Council person, Shannon Ledbetter. Then County Executive Pittman and Budget Administrator Hujia Hasim will share a presentation about the county's investments and the outlook for the fiscal year 26 budget. And then after that presentation, we're going to open the floor up for all of you to give public testimony, and you're going to have your opportunity to share your thoughts with your council person and the county executive and our budget team about how you want your tax dollars to be spent. Before we begin, I want to introduce a handful of people that are here for you. First, we're going to start with elected officials. I think Don Pulliam is here. You're elected member of the Board of Education. And that is all I have on my list, but if there's any other elected officials in the audience, feel free to stand up and wave. All right. So I also want to introduce a handful of our department heads that are here. So we have Callie Mackle is here, from the Department of Aging and Disabilities, PIO, so right here. Awesome. Karen Henry, Director of the Department of Public Works, is in the building. Skip Auld is here. He's the CEO of Anne Arundel County Public Libraries. Skip. And Mark Wiedemeyer is here. He's the Director of Inspections and Permits over on this side. Also, just quick thank you to all of our staff that is just helping make this event happen. So you have lots of people from the county executive staff doing check-in and tech and everything. But beyond that, we have central services that got here early to set everything up. So thank you for everyone just facilitating that. We have Arundel TV over here filming so that this can be live streamed. It's recorded, will be on the county YouTube channel for people to see afterwards, but also for people to watch live at home. So thank you to everyone for helping to set that up as well. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to let Councilwoman Ledbetter give an opening remark.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the odd behavior. I am recovering from a stomach bug, and it was really important for me to be here tonight. And I am on the up and up, but out of an abundance of caution, I'm trying not to touch shared surfaces and keep a little distance between myself and others. That is why there is a gap between us. So if I'm not shaking hands or approaching folks or posing for pictures tonight, it's because I really don't want to pass to you what I just experienced. But this is a really important night to me, to be able to be here in person, hear what you have to say, hear your priorities, and be able to look you in the eye while you're speaking. It's just really, really valuable to me, and so that's why I'm here despite just recovering from my bug. But thank you all for making the effort to be out here tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the county executive. I'm a woman of few words this evening.
I'm also going to be a few words because I understand that we have 60-some people signed up to speak, and there may be more than that. And when you multiply that by 2 minutes, that's a lot of minutes. Hopefully some of you will know that if you choose not to speak because enough people are already speaking on your topic, that you actually are more likely to get your project funded. So if you signed up, it doesn't mean you have to speak. It'll get us out of here. We have to be out of here by 9. So I won't say really much of anything because you hear me often. You can go listen to my State of the County speech, and you can, that's the stuff that I would probably be talking about. I will just say that this year feels a little bit like the COVID year. In terms of uncertainty on the budget, we don't know exactly what's happening at the state level. We know that they're cutting a lot of money from their budget. We know that there are federal cuts that are coming, and we know that some of that will impact the county, so we have to be very careful about our spending. But we're always careful about our spending. And otherwise, it's not a terrible year, and Hooja will explain some of that to you. The Anne Arundel County is in good financial condition. We have 3 AAA bond ratings. Revenues are coming in at a nice clip. Costs are going up at a really nice clip, too. So I'll just stop on that, and thank you for coming. I think District 7 is always one of the best attended, if not the best attended. Y'all are engaged, so thank you.
Good evening. I'm Hooja Hassim, Budget Administrator. Let me finish as soon as possible. As County Executive said, a lot of people signed up. I want to save some time. But this presentation is on the website. If you have any questions, you can ask later. But again, you're welcome to ask questions through emails and phone calls. That being said, I want to go through budget timeline. This slide basically shows you budget starts as early as September, and basically budget proposals happens on May 1st, and council strikes the budget on usually June 15th. So that's the timeline. And let's go to the next slide. As you can see on this slide, basically this is a flow chart how the budget process works. First, department submits the budgets mid-January. Actually, yesterday, all departments submit their budgets. County executive, whole council members hold town halls during the January to February timeframe. Budget office reviews budgets and makes a recommendation to the county executive by around March 1st. And during the March, county executive meets with the department heads. And very early April, we finalize our revenue estimates. And then May 1st, county executive proposes the budget. Then it goes to the county council review. As I said, June 15th, June 14th, budget has to be adopted. On this slide, you can see in Arundel County where the money comes from kind of chart. This is the total general fund revenue at fiscal year 2025, 2.3 billion. Property tax is almost 40% of the revenue, which is $980 million. Local income tax, $820 million, is 35.5%. And third revenue line item is the recordation transfer tax is recently 100 million, used to be 200 million. So it's all fluctuates based on mortgage interest and real estate activities. And we have some healthy fund balance, as you can see, in the 7.9%. Usually that number is 2-3% range, but the last couple of years, with our conservative budgeting, we see some fund balances, and then we usually use fund balances for non-recurring items like capital budget pay-go. Next slide. General fund expenditure. This is where that $2.3 billion goes. As you can see, Board of Education is roughly 50%, actually 50.1. And why we call it fully loaded? Because we have some expenses in other departments, like health department has about $15 million school health nurse. We added to the Board of Education. We have some school crossing guard budget in the police department. We added to police. We have some debt service, which is in the other departments, pays for public school debt service. We added to that. So basically, show you how much of the pie goes to the Board of Education. That's 50%. Second largest, as you can see, public safety. And, general government, there's all other stuff, Office of Finance, Office of Budget, and also we have other post-employment benefits, retirement accounts, all that things in there. And next slide. FY25 budget highlights. Last year's budget, we increased the police starting salary to $70,000. I think, as far as I remember, last year's budget, we are one of the top in the entire Maryland. Maxed out the rainy day fund, which is our revenue reserve fund, to $170.7 million, which is to the limit. We extended critical health care and health program, social services program, and previously funded with ARPA funding, but we had to fund it with the recurring general fund dollars. Fully funded Board of Education's compensation package and achieved AAA for our county's bonds from bond rating agencies. Next slide. This slide shows you where we stand in terms of property tax rate. Our property tax rate for the real property is currently 0.983 per $100 assessed value, and we are number 11th from the number 11 lowest. If you compare to the Central Maryland jurisdictions like Howard County, Baltimore County, Prince George's County, we are the lowest. Next slide. Income tax. We have progressive income tax. Only two counties. One is Frederick County, one is Anne Arundel County has progressive income tax. Our income tax rate is 2.7 for the $50,000 below, 2.94 between $50,001 to $400,000, and then 3.2 $400,000 up. This is for single, and then Maryland filing jointly is a little bit different, but 450 and up is 3.2%. So in terms of effective tax rate, which is roughly 2.95, is fifth lowest for the entire Maryland. Next slide. Recordation transfer tax revenue, as I mentioned earlier, we received $200 million in fiscal year 2022. You all know after the pandemic, there's a big real estate boom, and we also received $200 million. So last year's that number came down to $99.9 million, which is half. And as the interest rate moderated a little bit down from 8% to 7% range right now, we expecting current year FY25 is roughly $105 million, and then 26 maybe 150. Next slide. Revenue reserve fund. This is our rainy day fund. If any bad thing happens, disasters, or we cannot achieve our revenue estimate, then we can tap into this fund. As you can see, that orange line is the limit by our county code. And then since Mr. Pittman's administration, we always max it out to the best we can, FY 2020 to now. And we also increased the limit from 5% of total general fund revenue was the limit before, now it's 8% of total general fund revenue. So we have $170 million is sitting in that rainy day fund for the emergencies. Next slide. And next couple of slides, we will show you how our investment grow, how our expenditures grow in major functional areas. This is a public safety. Basically, this bar shows you the percent growth from 2005. As you can see, it's growing steadily, and since this administration, fiscal 2022, and now is the growth is exponential. It's a public safety. We are investing pretty heavily at the moment. Next slide. Recreation park, again, this slide also shows same thing, 2005 to now, how much growth. Basically, recreation parks, 2006 budget, if it's like, I forgot, is it 25 million? Now it's kind of 75 million. So it's growing 145% since that point of time. And you may wonder why 2006 growing from 2005, 48%. That year when we have 2 golf courses included in the recreation parks budget. That's why the first year you will see 48%. That's a little bit eye-catching, but that's the reason, because 2 golf courses added that year. Next slide. Board of Education funding. Again, you can see growth ups and downs, but then since FY 2020, we're constantly growing in the Board of Education expenditures. Next slide. Health and Human Services. This one is, you can see the 2024 and 2025 chart, and we've been investing a lot in these areas too. Next slide. Affordable housing. You can see before this administration, we spent less than $1 million for the affordable housing initiatives in the county. And County Executive Pittman increased to roughly $2.5 million for 3 years, and we increased the expensive properties, which is $1 million up properties when they sell. The transfer tax, we charge $0.5 per $1,000, and that goes directly to the Housing Trust Fund, which goes directly to the affordable housing initiatives. That's why you see FY23, there's a big jump from $2 million to $10 million, because that new revenue stream is roughly $7 to $10 million based on the real estate activities. Next slide. Local projects in District 7. Transportation-wise, Governor's Bridge Road, bridge over Patuxent River, Shoreham Beach Road improvement, MD-214 improvements, MD-214 sidewalk, Pauline House Bridge over Rock Branch. And water, wastewater side, Crofton Meadows 2 expansion, Mayo wastewater collection systems, watershed improvement projects, Lab Branch restoration, and education-wise, Crofton Woods Elementary School roof replacement, Southern Middle roof replacement, Central Middle roof replacement, Deal Elementary School upgrades, and Recreation Parkside, Jog Bay Environmental Education Center, Beverly Triton Natural Park, and 3 other projects in there. And dredging projects is ongoing, South County dredging. So we're also investing heavily in our district. And FY26 fiscal expectations. Revenue, currently it looks like stable outlook on the recurring revenue, but reduced incremental growth. Main reason is recordation transfer tax is not growing as the inflation is high and interest rate expectation is high. Fed cut the rate, but again, bond rate is still stayed high, and that's why mortgage interest rate went back to 6 and go back to 7.5 again. Now we see like roughly 7.15. So recordation transfer tax is very sensitive to the mortgage interest rate. That's one concerning factor. Income tax is okay as inflation is a little bit higher. Wage also grows with it, also produces income tax. Again, other side, also next slide, we will see that expenditure, which is wage growth, also grows for us. And as this is the expenditure side, employee compensation has to increase. We usually provide roughly equal to January's consumer price index level cost of living adjustment for the employees, which is right now standing at 2.7%. And that's wage growth is one big thing. And also, as wage growing, pension cost also grows. And recently, our county vacancies is getting smaller. That means we have less savings from attritions and turnover. Operational increases, utility cost is increasing. And then now we don't have federal recovery funds anymore. And everything is getting expensive. So Board of Education also requested big increase this year in FY26 budget. Next slide. So this slide is a very important slide, how we do budgeting, okay? This is FY26 outlook. If you look at this table, we usually tell county executive, okay, how much additional incremental revenue we got. Because everything baseline usually stays as a baseline, but new things only can be done with the incremental additional growth. So that we currently estimating that that incremental revenue is between 95 million to 105 million, around that range. So out of that, $30 million already spoken for, because you can see debt service. We have growing capital projects, and we authorize a lot of capital projects, and those debt has to be issued, and debt service has to be paid. That's already spoken for. Pension contribution. We have certain code requirement to contribute to the pension fund. As salaries grow, because pension contribution is % of salaries, that also grows, and we go with actuarial determined numbers. That's why that's also spoken for. Incremental cost of last year's pay package, because when we increase somebody's salary at like a merit increase, we call it, or performance pay, say in December 30th, that person only gets 6 months for that fiscal year, but next year they got 1 year. That's called incremental cost for last year's pay package. And that is also there. And health insurance increases too, about 4%. Other cost employment benefits, even SSTAT. We have some cost sharing with them. Their cost is increasing. And we have fleet of about 1,700, and their cost also going up. You know, vehicle prices, maintenance, and everything. So all that already taken $30 million without anything else. So now, even we call it discretionary for the other 70 million, but pay package, unions will negotiate something and we have to pay. That's actually, in my mind, also non-discretionary because unions already. So pay packages, use some county, and then we had to give Board of Education their pay package, which is there. So, yeah, every year, even a good year, you have challenges. Money is always limited. Resources are very limited. But you have to, basically, county executive and council members' job is to just prioritize those and then put the dollars in the right places. So this chart basically showing you that exercise in a very preliminary version. Next slide. FY26 budget consideration. As county executive earlier mentioned, higher than normal inflation, recurring incremental revenues dampened as the recordation transfer tax revenue remains depressed due to high interest rate. State budget shortfall, they proposed their budget. They also proposed some tax increases, which we have some headwinds, tailwinds actually, a little bit revenue growth for us if that budget passes, but that does not even enough that they proposed cuts. We already did some very preliminary math. States revenue legislation say produce $4 million revenue, but they're taking away 6 of expenditure. So basically, it's not good for us. State's budget proposal, and then again, as I mentioned earlier, debt service, health insurance, pension, OPEB, everything is contractual in my mind. Department-based budget increase. Usually, department-based budget is okay. You do whatever you did last year, exact same level, but you can include, of course, electricity cost increase, right? You have to pay that because you opening same hours, same, but BG increase in utility by 5%. So you have to, that kind of stuff, we call it department-based budget increase. That's usually come in a couple of millions too, because the contract usually have a CPI inflator or building increase. So, next slide. That being said, and this slide, this presentation is on the county website, aacounty.org. If you go aacounty.org, put budget in the search, you can see all these links, and then especially at the bottom link, www.aacounty.org, your budget. There's more information there. You can look. And next slide, we welcome your comments at the budget-comments@aacounty.org. Your comments will be read, sorted, and we will provide the county executive before county executive makes any decisions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Huja. It is now time for the public testimony portion of the evening, where we're going to get a chance to hear from all of you. So again, this is your chance to let your leaders know what you would like to see funded in the FY26 budget. A couple notes. Each speaker is going to have 2 minutes to give their testimony. You're going to see a timer on the screen above. It's going to help you keep track of that time. For the sake of time, the county executive and the councilwoman are not going to respond to every comment, but they're listening, they're taking notes. We have staff also taking notes, and it all gets compiled and looked at as decisions are being made. Just want to echo the comment the county executive made earlier. We have well over 50 people signed up. If everyone speaks for 2 minutes, that is a long time. We're not going to cut you off early, but bonus points if somebody has already spoken on your topic to say, hey, this is my name, this is where I live, I agree with that person. Just keep that in mind as you're giving your speeches. With that, I'm going to call a few names of people who signed up said they wanted to speak when they came in and signed up at the front table. There will be a time at the end if you didn't sign up where we'll do an all call and you'll have to do that. We will begin with people who live in District 7, call them up first. And then afterwards, we'll call anyone else who traveled here to be with us tonight that did not indicate that they lived in District 7. And without any further ado, the first three people, if you just want to come up and line up here and get rolling, is Beth Burke, Bernard Noland, and Alan Mayer. All right.
Hi there, I'm Beth Burke, and I am here on behalf of South County Pickleball. I would like to advocate for supporting public pickleball courts in South County. South County Pickleball is bursting at the seams with over 1,000 members. We need many more indoor and outdoor courts to keep up with the demand. With only 2 indoor courts at the South County Rec Center, only a tiny number of our membership can play on a given day. When open play sessions are posted for members, as they are going to be any minute right now, they fill up within minutes with wait lists of dozens or more. On nice days, which is any day over 50 degrees without rain, the outdoor courts are packed as well. While there are many private pickleball facilities popping up across the county and beyond, these clubs prioritize their membership and are quite expensive. It is important to provide public pickleball spaces for the county to provide for the fastest growing sport in America. Pickleball is one of the only sports in which young and old players can compete together. Pickleball is gaining popularity with young people and even has been added to varsity sports in Montgomery, Maryland. Coming soon here, we hope. I urge you to consider the following. Add many indoor and lighted outdoor pickleball courts at Edgewater Recreation Center. Add lighting and windscreens to current outdoor courts and fix the courts at Galesville, which have been in disrepair since the spring. And finally, there have been many surveys conducted in regards to the park and deal that express strong support for courts. I believe that the Edgewater Rec Centers express the same support. Please honor the opinions of South County residents and support spaces for pickleball. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bernie Nolan from the Crawford County HOA. Good evening, County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Thank you for your continued interest in the needs of our senior Crawford County community. We continue to have a very serious problem. Thank you. And pressing need. Our Crawford Gulf Creek needs restoration. After 6 years of extremely corrosive, I should say erosive, stormwater discharge from the ridings at North Branch, we need to have that issue resolved as soon as we can. And we know that I've actually lost my train of thought here, but I'm going to get it back. On that note, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Al Meyer and let him take over. But I do want to say this. We certainly understand that a stormwater retrofit at the ridings could reduce the stormwater flow to the required pre-development flows at all outfalls. However, we also understand that a restoration of the Crawford Gulf Creek would greatly protect our community from future damage due to the riding stormwater. And we would ask you to please include this creek restoration in your FY26 budget. And I would also like to take this opportunity, now that I'm back on my train of thought here, to thank your Department of Public Works, led by Karen Henry, for their very responsive and professional responses to our critical infrastructure requests, such as street tree trimming, sidewalk safety tripping hazards, and also grinder pump failures. They do an excellent job. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alan Meyer. I'm also a resident of Crawford Colony. Like Bernie just said, I would like to thank and commend Karen Frost and the Public Works Department for the work that they have done when we've called upon them for several things in the past year. I'd also like to thank James Kitchen and Eric Michelson for offering to help with the first step in stopping the erosion behind a house in our community that's suffering severe erosion right next to their foundation. We still have issues with the lacking storm drainage plan of the Ridings, which was built across Underwood Road from us after being approved by inspections and permits. This is the 4th straight year that we have appeared at this meeting, and we think that the department needs better staffing so that Mr. Michelson and the Bureau of Watershed Protection and Restoration can do more protection and less restoration in the future. We would also like there to be a budget line item for the restoration of our stream bed, which has been totally devastated by the construction of the Ridings. And we will be hopefully submitting an application for those funds in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Stephen Sutton, Sherry Schiller, and Martin Simon.
Good evening, and I too represent Crofton Colony Homeowners Association, and I also want to take this opportunity to praise the Department of Public Works for assisting our 55-plus community and ask for a budget line item to restore our portion of the Crofton Gulls Creek. Our community thanks the DPW departments, as has been already stated, that acted quickly in the last year to replace our sidewalk, to prepare our sidewalks, trim our trees, replace failed grinder pumps, and guide us in removing dangerous trees in our common area. On our second issue, we thank James Kitchen for his continued assistance with the stormwater problem and Ms. Ledbetter for her continuing interest in our situation. While we continue to disagree with the permit office decisions on the Riding stormwater control system retrofit design, that damage will only get worse without restoring the stream bed. Mr. Michelson has helped us, and we're told this week that his team will install biologs to undermine the area to prevent bank collapse at the back of the home that was mentioned earlier. And we want to thank Eric and his team for this temporary stabilization and look forward to the biolog installation in a few weeks. Though we intend to apply for a watershed restoration grant, we anticipate that we would have to expend a lot of money to support that should we receive a grant, which would take several years to come to fruition. Given the existing damage throughout the stream bed, we ask that your 2026 budget include funds to restore our stream bed, and in the past 6 years, damage to our creek has forced our community to spend thousands of dollars on legal fees and tree removal, and so we ask that you fund the restoration. Thank you.
Good evening. And thank you, Councilwoman, for pushing through the crud to be with us tonight. My name is Sherry Schiller, and I'm a resident of District 7 and a board member of the Annapolis Immigration Justice Network. AIJN provides legal, financial assistance, transportation, and case management for vulnerable kids in our county. Today, I'm testifying in favor of continued funding for AIJN's legal and wraparound services for immigrant children. This program has provided high-quality legal representation to 172 children as young as 3 years old, kids who've been abused, neglected, or abandoned, as well as victims of human trafficking. Data show that unaccompanied children who have attorneys are 7 times more likely to receive an outcome that allows them to remain in the U.S. than those without legal representation. One of the kids helped through this grant is a 10-year-old boy who is facing deportation. He came to the U.S. when he was 4, escaping violence. Since he didn't yet have an attorney, AIJN staff joined him in the courtroom, advocated for him, and resulted in him not receiving removal orders. AIJN is now providing support for him and his 7-year-old sister. AIJN's model is unique and effective, with a 96% success rate of favorable outcomes in court hearings. The need for legal representation for immigrant children will remain critical. Thank you for considering AIJN's renewed funding request for FY26.
Good evening, Councilwoman, Mr. County Executive, good to see you both. Happy New Year. As you know, I'm Martin Simon, the town manager in Crofton, and on behalf of the Crofton Civic Association Board of Directors and the 13,000 residents that we serve in the Crofton Tax District, I'm here tonight along with Stephen Tull, our CCA Vice President, and I believe a handful of other supporters here from our community to once again draw your attention to something that is already listed as a priority in your bicycle and pedestrian safety, pedestrian master plan. I'm speaking of the proposed shared use path along Route 424 in Crofton, down to Bell Branch Park. As you know, we already have a new sidewalk on 424 that ends at Staples Corner, but what is still needed is a 780-yard extension of that sidewalk south of 450 to enable walkers and rollers safe passage to the park. Sir, you recently wrote how you didn't much care for these town halls because they make you squirm in your chair, listening to folks like me tell you how lack of funding in one area or another causes harm. But what I'm hoping to do instead, sir, is put you on the edge of your seat at the prospect of how much good could be achieved by supporting this relatively small project. Last year, Tanya Asman, the county's senior planner for bicycle and pedestrian planning, told us, quote, "We also believe this to be a project of great value because it will connect a large population to a popular destination and reduce vehicular congestion and promote healthier lifestyles." Sir, for the past 2 years, we appreciate that you have included down in the additional projects section of your priority letter to Secretary Wiedefeld a request for a detailed analysis of the Staples Corner traffic bottleneck. In your next letter this spring, we ask that you raise up that request into the body of your letter to give it the extra weight needed for timely action. In your FY25 budget, section H563700 contains $6.5 million for pedestrian project partnerships with SHA. We believe putting some of that money to work to promote the health and safety of thousands of Crofton's kids would be a great and efficient use of those precious resources. We hope that you and the council will work together with SHA to make this happen in the near term. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next three are Sibajoy Duta, William Krause, and Suzanne Garrikines. And as they're walking up, I will say, yes, thank you to DPW for all the work in Crofton Colony. I think that group, everyone that came has done. I also do want to say thank you to Inspections and Permits because it's really been a team effort. It's been a long-standing issue, and both departments have been very involved. So, Mark, thank you for your team's work on that as well.
Yes, good afternoon, James. It's good to see all of you. I live in Crofton, it's 30 years, and I totally agree with what Barney Nolan said, and here is Martin Simon, what he said. First of all, I will say this issue of the Crofton colony, homeowners associations, the riding is causing a lot of problems. I did the modeling, and I saw that the flow is at least 3 times more than the existing. I went back to the maps of 1945, as back as I could go. And I've done USGS models, NRCS models, and it is an issue, very big issue actually. And right now it is not as much, but if you see, I asked them to do monitoring, and we could monitor what comes out of that pipe. And that could be one way to really prove, but I don't think you need a proof of that because the proof is already in the pudding. You can see there. So anyway, but Martin has brought a very nice point here. That zone, today I looked at the details, is only 1 minute or 2 minutes by bicycle, and 4 minutes, sorry, by bicycle. And if you walk that, it's not more than 1,500 feet of, some areas are already paved, like the store next to the crossing on 450 and the south of it. So, after that, it is added another maybe 1,500 feet of sidewalk. It will save a lot of headache, a lot of pain for people driving, in the afternoon or the game days. And it will connect people. I know a lot of Crofton people like I do. We walk along the Crofton Parkway, 4 miles. And this is nothing for them to walk from Crofton to that park. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Bill Krause. I live in Sounders Point. Let me get it out of the way right now. DPW did a great job on the main arteries. But I would ask you, sir, that you order DPW to do a reassessment of how it prioritizes the feeder roads and the smaller community roads on the peninsulas. We are not Fort Meade. Many of the areas here are listed as cul-de-sacs or dead-end roads because we're on a peninsula, sir. The roads only have one way in and one way out. We are told that the roads are not treated more than once if they are considered by the crew to be passable. I live at the end of a 1-mile road, Triton Beach Road. There are 7 houses on it. If you go to DPW's 311 system, it does not identify any of the houses. If that road was considered passable, it is not treated for up to 36 hours after a storm. 42 hours after a storm, sir, one of your county dump trucks slid off that road. If your guy thought it was passable, he either needs to be retrained or fired. And this is relevant to all of these peninsulas, not just in District 7. We're not a cookie-cutter operation. DPW should consider not every road needs to be plowed. I get it. But some roads, if they're not passable, you're not getting out beyond your community. And people need to get out on these limited roads. Second point. Last Friday, there was a gas leak in Sounders Point, or on Mayo Peninsula, that closed the road for 10 hours. As an Air Force officer of 30 years, I can tell you that public safety revolves around crucial communication with the public. In that respect, the county failed. Not because it didn't try, because it didn't think. If you're a parent, sir, with a 3-year-old at a daycare center and you're on the opposite side of a closed road, being told that the road will open in a few hours gives me nothing to plan. How many people here think a few hours means less than 4? How many think it means more than 6? How many of you don't know what the hell it means? That's the point. DPW, police, the fire department could have easily determined from BGE how long this was going to take. BGE's gas crews were telling their people it was a 10-hour project after they arrived on scene. Nobody was told that. Cars stayed on the road. People were concerned about their kids. Communication is crucial, sir. Please have the system communicate effectively with the citizens. You can't plan a gas leak, but you can plan to deal with it if you know how much time you're going to need. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Cherikinis, and I live in Crofton. I'm a homeowner, and I've come here basically to praise the libraries. They've been doing very good. They're beautiful. Crofton Library, I went there today, full parking lot, so kudos. And so is Broadneck and Annapolis on West Street. I like that one too. Having listened to your budget, though, it comes to me as a secondary issue, I'm sorry to say. I was wondering, with the issue of what's happening in our federal government now regarding immigration, what have you taken account in the funding to handle problems at schools and libraries and in the community? What portion are you going to take out of which sector? And that's it.
All right. Well, thank you. Next up, we have Tracy Garrett, Colette Gerard, and James McKenzie.
Aquaba and good evening. My name is Dr. Tracy O'Garrett, and I am here on behalf of the self-named and proclaimed Lothian Coalition that is composed of concerned citizens, the Patuxent Riverkeeper, and a representative from the Chesapeake Legal Alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you and make a pitch for funding that would benefit those of us who live in the front line, fence line community of Sands Road / Lothian Harwood. For years, we have been pleading for relief from truck traffic, reclamation sites, and toxic trauma. We are requesting funding to provide outreach and education to our community about the impact the air and water quality continues to have on our health and the quality of our lives. Impact studies such as Poverty Amidst Plenty that have been conducted by the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County shows the disparities that exist in education, health, and wealth in the Lothian / Harwood community, particularly for those of us living in these frontline, fence-line, overburdened with industrial facilities, Sands Road, Harwood, Lothian spaces. It is time to provide those of us who have been bearing these conditions with the support we need to educate ourselves so we can be the change that we want to see. Knowledge is power, and once the community has a clear understanding of what's not benefiting them, the change will come. Thanks for letting me have the opportunity to ask for what we need, and let's continue to strive to make Anne Arundel County the best place for all. Madasi Pa.
Good evening. My name is Colo Gerard. I live in what I call Greater Downtown Galesville, and I am here as a member of the board of your professional orchestra for 63 years, the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra. We are this year, on behalf of the board, the musicians, and all the people who come to our free concerts at Quiet Waters and Downs Park, we are requesting $50,000 in the county budget. Last year, you gave us $40,000, and you have for the past several years. And for that, the board and the musician and all of the people, some of whom must be here, come to the free concerts. Thank you. These free concerts, I know Mr. Pittman is how I knew him. Stuart Pittman's been there. But there are lots of other people who come with their pets to picnic and to enjoy a wonderful experience. There are approximately 11,000 people who have attended these concerts each year. We're asking for $50,000 this year. That's not going to cover the costs at all, so the rest is made up from donations, and we run the Bucket Brigade. You'll see people like me from the board and volunteers with white buckets collecting dollars. So thank you for your support in the past, and please give us an extra $10,000. Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to say I live in Deal. Thanks for the Deal Park. I like the way it is. I think if you added pickleball courts to that, it'd be kind of productive because the dogs would be chasing the dogs, chasing the balls all the time, so they really wouldn't be playing nothing anyway. So you leave it like it is, would work good for me. Thanks for always providing everybody with a voice for the town halls, even though everybody might not agree. Still appreciate getting rid of a voice. Another thing, just to FYI, I did speak to Don Pullman already. Central Special had no heat today. It's the third time this month the school's been without heat. I realize it's a school board issue, but just want to make more people aware of it that there is. And I'll submit any other questions online.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up we have Scott Chismar, Don Bailey, and Mary Blackborough.
Hello. I'll be brief. Some of the stuff I wanted to talk about was already here, but first, thanks for the transparency. The slideshow was absolutely great. Something very complicated was made in a pretty easy way to figure out, so thanks for that. Town manager of Crofton, Martin Simon, had put out a call for support for the sidewalks from Staples Corners down to Bell Branch. Great idea. That park is beautiful, as are most of our parks. It's very diverse use, young, old, multiracial, people there for different reasons, be it dog walking, sporting events, what have you. The one common factor is you can only get there by driving because you just can't walk. So I think it would be it's a great idea if we could do that. And then lastly, again, I think most of the people in the county appreciate the services that the men and women that work for the county do. I mean, compared to some of the other counties in the state, we're hitting it out of the park. So just keep the men and women, when you guys are doing the budgets, just keep in mind the men and women that are taking care of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pittman and Mrs. Ledbetter, I'm Don Bailey, the president of the new nonprofit group Friends of Historic Johns Hopkins House. When I mention Johns Hopkins, we are all familiar with the name. We think of Johns Hopkins Hospital and University. However, there is a great historic Hopkins site right in Gambrels. White's Hall, Johns Hopkins' birthplace and childhood home, is where he spent a large portion of his life. This property was originally a land grant of 1,800 acres given to Jerome White in 1665. Gerard Hopkins bought the property from Mr. White in 1719. This house and property, which are of local, state, and national historic importance, must be saved. In fact, we formed our group to do just that. We're asking for your support with this monumental task. We ask that Anne Arundel County purchase the site just as they did with 3 other historical sites in the county. That ownership may guarantee the protection of the property for a very long time. While Johns and his older brother Joseph attended the Anne Arundel County Free School in Davidsonville, their parents, Samuel and Hannah, in accordance with their Quaker's decree, granted freedom to their enslaved people in 1778, 86 years before the state of Maryland did in 1864. Johns left Whitehall, moved to Baltimore in 1812 to apprentice with his uncle in his store. He was 17. The home was designed as a 2-story brick side passage double pile plan dwelling. The main center structure of the house, constructed circa 1780, is a Flemish bond brick Georgian and is representative of a house style of which few examples survive in North Anne Arundel County. The house, listed on the Maryland Historic Site Inventory in 1969, must be saved. Thank you.
Mary Blackborough, Edgewater, and I'm speaking for the South County Recreation Center and additional pickleball facilities. According to Picklehead websites, U.gov reported a 223% increase participation in pickleball since 2021. And according to the Sports and Fitness Industry Association, it is now the 3rd most popular activity after biking and running. In 2021, the average age was 55 and up, comprised 20% of the players, and now 18 to 24-year-olds make up approximately 29% of the players nationwide. Maryland has the highest total of players with 22.6% of all players in the U.S. Clearly, it's a growing activity with the average age going down, and it's a sport that can provide cross-generational benefits to many who are not high-level athletes and can foster family activities that will benefit all who play. There are not many activities that 3 generations are able to have fun, be physically active, and play with teamwork. Pickleball is relatively easy to learn, provides socialization and camaraderie, and physical exercise, which is a win-win for all involved. This is certainly a component of a comprehensive recreation center that can be used for multiple levels of activities to benefit community. Indoors facilities for this activity are limited at this time, and those that are provided are mostly private communities that really don't allow equal access throughout the community. There's not a lot of resources for pickleball in this area of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Theda Sherman, Maisie Howard Zaleskas, and Paul Schneider.
All right.
Really should have wrote my thoughts down. I wanted to thank Stuart Pittman and the Anne Arundel County Public Library officials for announcing on September 25th, 2024, that the county and the library system would be the first in Maryland to be designated a book sanctuary. They're doing a valuable service with libraries and public education currently under attack. I was asking my family what libraries have done for them. As a child, my mother was able to read books that her family could have never afforded. And as a mother, she brought me to the library every week, my whole family. I would get like 70 books at a time. I just devoured them. It was also a way that she could homeschool us because we couldn't have afforded to get all of the educational resources. Anne Arundel County Public Libraries provide education, offer coats to the cold, give food, diapers, and menstrual products to those in need. In a world where every aspect of our lives has been financialized and monetized, public libraries are one of the few institutions not run on profit but for the public good. There's been a gun lock distribution program. There's been 6,500 gun safety locks that have been distributed to county adults throughout. They've been both giving Chromebooks, a little less than 6,000 Chromebooks for free, and also they have a lending program for people to borrow Chromebooks for about 12 weeks. These are incredible forces for good in our community, and they deserve all the funding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. County Executive Pittman, Council Member Ledbetter, county and community leaders, and my neighbors. My name is Maisie Howard, and I am a 20-year resident of District 7. I live in Lothian, and this past November, I ran for the Board of Education for Anne Arundel County. I highlighted the educational priorities of the rural communities on my educational platform. Ahead of Phase 2 redistricting implementation, I've continued to work on bridging our AACPS governance with historically marginalized rural communities. So we are participating in the policy development governing our children as students. I believe the need for bridging communities and supporting inclusion has never been so great. Here are my requests: to approve the AACPS budget to support our public education and educational programming. I hope the superintendent considered our secondary schools here in the Southern Cluster when he came to visit. I hope that he noticed we need to repair and resurface the parking lots at both schools. Both schools need much more, but at a minimum, I hope he saw the desperate need for this. And I provided that feedback in his budget process. For Arundel Community Development Service Community Support Grant Program, I'm asking for the FY25 $2 million level set funding that you gave the program last year, and I'm hoping that to participate in that program this year, but I believe it will strengthen the county level infrastructure by serving our community. For our library system, AACPL, for which I work, I request full funding of the budget request. The libraries provide vital services for all of our communities and students, and specifically for rural communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Schneider. I went to this school. I have kids that go to this school. Kids that go to Lothian. They'll be at Southern Middle. I just want to make you aware, my kids have had to deal with boys that say that they're girls going into girls' bathrooms. The reason I'm bringing this up because it's a federal mandate now that there's only two genders, male and female, by the new administration. if the states don't comply with these rules, we will lose our funding for the education department. So I think you guys really need to consider what is going on here. We don't need boys and girls doing girls' sports. We don't need boys pretending to be girls going in girls' bathrooms. This stuff has got to change, and now it's going to come out of the state's pocket and our pocket if you don't pay attention to this.
Next up, we have Joseph Brown, Angie Carr, and David Morsberger.
Hey, while there's a moment, I'm going to give you some good news. We just got the budget request from the governor last week, and we had asked for $2 million for the Edgewater Rec Center, and we got it. If the General Assembly doesn't take it away.
I'm Joseph Brown, and I live in Lock Haven. So last year I was here and was very concerned when I heard the testimony about the status of our public safety. It was most concerning because the issues of not enough budget, personnel, or equipment covered the police department, fire department, including emergency services, and the sheriff's department. I was glad to see a subsequent increase in the budgets for all three in the final budget last year, but it got me to wondering if the increases were enough to address the critical needs identified, or if there is still an urgent need to improve our public safety capability. County Executive Pittman, Council Member Ledbetter, it's my sincere hope that you share my concerns about striving for adequate public safety funding and staffing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches a todos. Good evening. Thanks for allowing us to have this opportunity. I've never been to a town hall before, so I appreciate the opportunity. I have two things. I'm going to need like 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. Okay. So two things. I'm Angie Carr from the Little Thumb Peninsula that is Shadyside. I haven't lived there very long, but formed a committee to kind of update our roads and improve some of our natural resources in the area. So the first thing is Eric Terry with the Traffic Engineering Department, good guy. He's helped us change out the obsolete signs, paint the striping, cut back the limbs, etc. Except he didn't give us a speed bump. So we'd like a speed bump on Idlewild Road, similar to Snug Harbor Road, got one speed bump. We have some lots of traffic through there, but there's ditches on either side of the road. It's very narrow. Second thing is we have a nice little beach area over there. It's called Shady Cove Naturalization Area. There's never been a formal trail established to go through the seagrasses onto the beach. Wonderful beach, but it's very dangerous. People have laid boards along the path. Just a haphazard path with nails on the boards, etc. I've been working with Ranger Hardy at Rexon Park, and she's been in dialogue with me, and she seemed to indicate that we were on a budget to get a floating pier through those grasses to get to the beach, similar to the pier that was installed at, I believe, Beverly Triton Park. So I'm in support of that, representing a committee from Shadyside. Thank you.
Thank you. And the schools are up kind of 39%. So I feel like I'm in a minority here because people are coming up asking for things. And what I'm saying is I think we're in a period of fiscal, uncertainty, and we really need to get back to what is critical and what are our essential services. So I think I really represent a lot of people that are not here tonight asking for things. So basically, I just ask that when you do your budget, look at what are the essential services so that we can really fund what's really, really necessary. There are a lot of unmet needs that are essential, and there are essential services we must continue. And for all my fellow citizens who want more from our government, we all complain about our taxes going up. We all complain about our fees going up. If you want the additional services, then accept the additional taxes and fees that come along with it, because there's no free lunch. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's you. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up, we have Joel Mason Gaines, James Harvey, and Jeffrey Calloway.
Hello, my name is Joel Mason Gaines. I'm a resident of Crofton, and I'm here to echo previous remarks, but I would like to advocate for funding to extend the Route 424 Davidsonville Road sidewalk to Bell Branch Park. This would only extend the sidewalk about half a mile from its current terminus, excuse me, at Route 450 Defense Highway, but would connect Bell Branch Park to the rest of the community. Currently, there's no way to access the park except to drive. This creates unnecessary small trips by car and has led to severe traffic, most concerningly creating a gridlock in front of the fire station next door. If there's a sidewalk where residents can walk or bike the fairly short distance to the park, it would ease this congestion. This park is designed for young children to play on its playground, for older youth to play on its sports fields, and for dogs to run around its dog park. It should not exist on an island. You should be able to walk to it. Thank you.
My name is Jim Harvey. I'm also from Crofton, and I'm here to voice support for the extension of the dual-use path from its terminus at 450 to Bell Branch Park. One thing I can add is that I'd like to report on social media. This topic has come up over the last few days, and there are a lot of people in Crofton who would like to see this happen. And I'd also like to point out that that intersection is a choke point at 5 p.m. and traffic often backs up all the way to Route 50. And a lot of that traffic are people trying to get from Crofton to those parks where the kids are playing about the same time. And I'd very much like to, just like every other parent or grandparent, like to see my kids, my grandkids, too old for my kids, but my grandkids, be able to walk there or take their bikes there. Secondly, while I have a minute left, I'd also like to voice support for preserving the Johns Hopkins House. Currently, it's privately owned, and it's in jeopardy where it's going to go. After Frederick Douglass, Johns Hopkins is perhaps the most historic person from Maryland, and he happens to be from Anne Arundel County. And right now, there is a route marker on the corner of Rydell Road and Johns Hopkins Road pointing to the house. And how tragic would it be if there was just a sign there pointing to no house? I think that it's very important for any organization, particularly government, to preserve its history, and I'd very much like to see you guys do that, however you can do that. With a couple of seconds left, though, I realize this is difficult. You've done a great job over the last few years, and I'd like to thank you for your service.
Jeff Calloway, representing Snug Harbor Citizens Association. County Executive Pittman, we wish to thank Ms. Buniscus and our Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Anderson, along with representatives of the Office of Law and Inspections Permits for their guidance and especially their tenacity in achieving remediation of the abandoned property on Lake Avenue. Our community cannot thank you enough. Councilmember Ledbetter, we also thank you for attending Snug Harbor Day along with the Community Engagement Officer and a large contingent from Fire EMS and all 3 on-duty patrol officers from the police department. All were actively engaged and informative with their citizens, especially the children of our community. They served as outstanding ambassadors for Anne Arundel County. We also want to recognize the excellent service our community received from Southern District Road Maintenance Supervisor Manuel Rojas. Mr. Rojas met with community representatives in October to conduct a walkthrough of our streets, noting areas in need of repair. On a quick turnaround, your crews made repairs to 2 culvert pipes and repaved our school bus stop on Maryland Avenue, as well as remediating a score of potholes in the community to prepare for this winter. In closing, as you probably expected, comes the ask. Councilmember, during Snug Harbor Day, you and I spoke briefly about a possible partnership initiative involving the parcel on Lake Avenue that we believe will improve fire and life safety within our rural tier community. When schedules permit, we wish to request a meeting with your staff to include representatives of Anne Arundel County Fire and the Resilience Authority to discuss the viability of achieving the concept we spoke of to potentially serve as a demonstration project for communities like ours in the rural tier and especially on the peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are now to our, not just our District 7 residents, and so next 3 will be Scott Peterson, Mike Shire, and O'Brien Atkinson.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Ledbetter. I'm Scott Pedersen. Been a resident of the county for 54 years now. I'm also a member of the Anne Arundel County FOP for 25 years. It takes a special person to step up and serve as a police officer. It takes commitment, courage, compassion, and sacrifice. You have to be committed to long hours, extra hours. You have to have the courage to run into a dangerous situation. You have to be willing to sacrifice time with your family, sacrifice a good night's sleep, and live on a government wage. This job is not for everybody. And even for those who want to do this job, they're not able to do it. We are too often missing out on the person who's wanting and willing to be an officer but cannot support their family on the wage that Anne Arundel County is still willing to pay. We're missing out on the potential officer who has the strength, courage, and willingness to be a police officer nowadays. And even the consideration signing up because the wages and benefits are so far below what they would be willing to make. Mr. Pittman, we appreciate that you've caught us up to a comparable wage with our peer jurisdictions. But we have not reached the tipping point yet. We cannot keep creeping it up. We're at a crisis point. We need to dump as much water on this fire as we can before the whole thing comes crashing down around us. If you want to pay the police officers to do a job, you have to pay them or they're going to go elsewhere. One last thing to this, just so you kind of know the timing of this. An application for our county, minimum 6 months from the time you turn it in to the time you get an answer of, hey, start this process and you can become a police officer. It's 8 months for an officer in the academy. Then you got another almost 3 months of field training. In that time, these officers are going other places. They can't wait that long. An application process. Thank you.
Good evening. O'Brien Atkinson. I'm the president of our local fraternal order of police. A quarter score and 1 year ago, we had 699 police officers total. That was October 2018. We had 64 less than we have today and 114 less than we had in 2020. Mr. Pittman, that month you had a debate with then County Executive Steve Shue. You said this is a serious problem. The International Association of Chiefs of Police did a study and recommended that for the growing population that we've had, we need to be at least at 825 officers. You said, and I quote, "It's a serious problem when they're understaffed. So we have more needs for police because of our growing population, but we're also putting more police in our schools as school resource officers. We put them in the light rail. We've got them at the mall." And so you're a police officer and you get a call at the end of the shift saying, there's no one here to take it. You're going to have to take it, even though you've got to go to your son's ball game or whatever it is you have to do. The stress among the fraternal order of police is very high, and that's why they endorsed me, end quote. And we did endorse you in 2018, and then again in 2022. and we're proud to have done so. Staffing reached a high of 814 in 2020, but today we're at 763. 6 years ago, Mr. Shu agreed with you that 825 was the right number, as called for in the 2017 report. You've said today that the number should be closer to 1,200. Together we raised our starting salary, but someone cut our sign-on bonus in half. The department has moved dozens of detectives into patrol, and we're exploring 12-hour workdays to stop the bleed. But without hiring and retaining police officers, nothing is going to work. Please continue to support your police department and our officers in this year's budget. We can't afford to keep growing the responsibilities of our shrinking police department. Thank you.
Good evening, Councilwoman Ledbetter, my councilwoman, and Mr. Pittman, my co-District 7 resident. My name is Mike Shire. I'm with the Fraternal Order of Police. I want to thank the citizen who came up earlier and asked some questions about our police department. Hopefully these are going to give you the answers. I also want to highlight something that President Atkinson just said about our SROs. One of our SROs saved a student's life today. If you read the news, there was a devastating assault, and it was our police officer who was in that high school who saved that child's life. That's an irreplaceable thing. Throughout these town halls for the past few years, we've been highlighting how prior administrations have been left you holding the bag for our staffing. We warned them over and over again. We begged them to address our police department's short staffing problems. Yet each year we negotiated a contract. Each administration fought against the FOP as we tried to address the problem. Each administration kicked the can down the road. Conversations about term limits come up every now and then. We certainly understand the arguments in favor of them, but our police department staffing may be an argument against them. You see, each county administration was able to kick the can down the road because as long as they could just hold on, just hold their breath and hope that there would be no great disaster that would publicly embarrass their lack of dedication to properly staffing the police department, then it would just be the next county executive's problem. But each new county executive seems to just hold their breath, and by the grace of our absolutely dedicated and professional officers, we just barely get by. Did you know that the night of the Capitol Gazette shooting, our QRT, our SWAT team, had to hurriedly rush away for another barricade mission halfway across the county late that night after having worked that entire day? What if that had happened a few hours earlier? We're just constantly stretched just past our breaking point. We haven't broken yet, but just like any investment banker will tell you, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Down here in Southern, there's 3 officers from about this school all the way down to the Bay in Calvert County. It takes a long time to get across this area from Wasons over to Shadyside, from Harwood to Fairhaven. I've made those runs many times. It's not fun, probably less so for the citizens who need our help. We need more help with staffing. We just don't have enough cops to serve this community. We sincerely hope that we won't be stuck blaming the last administration for our staffing woes. We hope that you will direct your administration to fix this problem. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dennis Fravel, Rachel Troyanos Halbig, and Tim Williams. And correct me if I'm saying names wrong. I'm sure I am, but you give us the right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dennis Fravel. I'm president of Friends of Jug Bay, and I'm here to say that thank you very much for your prior support of Jug Bay Wetlands Park. Today, the park gets the visitors at about the 60,000 visits per year. The park is 40 years old. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary. Friends of Jug Bay is celebrating its 38th anniversary. And I'm here to ask if you would be willing to put in extra money for infrastructure maintenance and replacement. You've already restored the boardwalk, the Marsh Boardwalk. That was a very important attraction at the park, but the other boardwalks are falling apart just because of old age. And we'd like you to convert a number of the part-time positions there to full-time in the future, because with so many people coming in, it's hard to have good staffing for the park. We'd also like you to buy the property that's across from Glendenning Nature Preserve. That's up for sale right now. The county did put in a bid last year, October, or the year before, October 23. It was rejected. And if you can't totally support it, help us find support for buying that property. Otherwise, it will be developed eventually, and you don't want to go to a park like Glendenning and see a big development over there. Even if it is considered agriculture, it'd be like a landscape store or the like. You really wouldn't want to see it. It would detract from the beautiful horizons. And also, I'd like to quickly ask you to plan for the future for land conservation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Troyanos-Halbig. Great work with the pronunciation. And I'm the branch manager of the Crofton Library, one of 3 libraries in District 7, along with the Deal and Edgewater branches. I'm here this evening to testify in support of the library's budget and to advocate for additional critical staff positions to meet our most pressing needs. Every library exists to support and empower our county's residents. In just the past few weeks, library staff at my branch have helped community members find grants for their nonprofits, assisted people with filling out job applications, and collected coats, gloves, and hats for our customers who need them during this cold weather. Here are just a few quotes from our customers about the services we provide. I worked on writing my book here at Crofton Library. I would visualize it being on the shelf after I wrote it, and it has finally happened. The library is so important. Every time I come here, you all are so helpful. You helped me more than anyone else, more than you know. I found a job because of you. These kinds of meaningful interactions happen every day across our library system, demonstrating the vital role that we play in the community. I'm proud to share that usage of the library and its resources just continues to grow. We're also proud to support key county initiatives, such as distributing free Chromebooks, providing Narcan and other public health resources, and helping to prepare all our county's children for kindergarten. However, to keep pace with this increased demand and to address the evolving needs of our residents, we require additional positions. These roles are essential to ensure that we have highly trained staff who can deliver excellent service and adapt to our community's changing needs. We also strive to be a highly efficient organization and the best stewards of county taxpayer dollars. For these reasons, I ask for your consideration of our supplemental funding requests. And thank you for your unwavering support of the library in years past, including the market rate adjustments over the past 2 years. Thank you.
So I'm not Tim. Tim is super nice, and he let me go in his spot because I have to go pick up my daughter. So I'm Laura Bardill, and I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, a South County resident, and I have the very best job. I teach the young musicians of South County in the public schools. And I'm here to say thank you. First of all, I became a solo parent very unexpectedly during the pandemic. And I also work day school, I work evening high at South River, I work summer school at A High and also at South River Summer School. I owe the Board of Ed, I owe the County Council, County Executive, I can take care of my kids because you've invested in our schools. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to investing in students, in public safety, and in affordable housing. I know we had many years of underfunding, so it looks like that curve is really big, doesn't it? But it's because we're making up for those years of underfunding. So I hope people can understand that it would have been a lot more gradual if we had had funding throughout the years. There's a saying, A-team leaders hire A-team people, B-team leaders hire C-team people. Dr. Bedell is an A-team leader. Please help him keep hiring A-team teachers by fully funding his budget request or more. Also, because I work day and night school, I don't have time for pickleball, but it sounds really fun. So I hope when I retire, I can play some pickleball. And thank you to the Annapolis Symphony. Where I'm picking my daughter up, she's getting free Annapolis Symphony instruction. So also thank you to the Symphony. I got to go pick up my kiddo. Bye, everybody.
I'm Tim Williams, and I do live in District 7, and I'm here on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Public Library Foundation. I want to associate myself with all the nice things that have been said about the vital role that our libraries play as anchor institutions. Personally, you might see me at the Edgewater Library for toddler time with my granddaughter, but as has been mentioned, there's many other services. Interesting fact, Deal, Edgewater, and Crofton together on an annual basis see about 60,000 unique visits. About 400,000 items go into circulation from those three branches on an annual basis. Recently, Starbucks announced that they didn't want you to hang out in their stores anymore. They locked the bathrooms. They want you to come in and buy their very expensive coffee and get out. They don't want you to stay there to read or study. Our Anne Arundel County Public Library posted something on social media that went viral. It said, "We are here to remind you that there are exponentially more public libraries in the USA than outlets of a certain famous coffee chain. We will always let you hang out as long as you want and use the bathroom for free." So one thing I want to say about that is, in addition to everything else here, libraries are a safe space, and they provide a place for everyone, whether they are children or teens or adults, to go and find their tribe and hang out and feel supported and helped by very good people who work at the library. If you go to the Harold Washington Library in Chicago, which is almost as nice as the new Revere Beach Library, you'll learn that after the Great Fire in Chicago, one of the first things they did was rebuild the library. It had books donated from England, and it was located in an iron water tower that had survived the flames. So great cities and great counties have public libraries. We have best practices in Anne Arundel County that are studied by folks all over the U.S., and we hope that we can continue to support our library staff here in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Miles Robinson, Victor Korn-Ellier, and Joanne Vaughn.
Good evening. My name is Miles Robinson. I'm not a resident of the county, but I'm a professional pickleball coach, and I've been lucky enough to coach through South County, through the graces of the wonderful staff at South County Rec, who are absolutely stretched to the limit with what I and other people are bringing to pickleball these days. A lot of very salient points have been made tonight about community. This pickleball community is an amazing community. I teach from 8 to 80-year-old people. I play regularly with an 85-year-old woman every week who's just outstanding. We keep people fit. We keep people in the community. We keep people going to libraries. We keep people going to local businesses. The things we're asking for in the community don't actually even involve very much infrastructure. The places where we could play that already have parking, they already have good roads, they're already accessible to us, and they will bring people to those areas to help build businesses and to build community. We recently lost a couple of courts in Deal behind the library there. The library, again, has come up this evening a couple of times. I actually use that library because of those pickleball courts, believe it or not. The south of South County is very, very thin on areas where we could play. When Galesville was closed in the summer, there was really no other outdoor courts for us to go to. South County Rec is slammed, and at the moment, every month I do 5 classes twice a week of people coming through looking for that. I'm totally spoken to by people in supermarkets that want to be involved in this community, in this. We'd love the Deal courts back. We'd like some lights there. We'd love a bubble somewhere if we could get one. Deal would be a great location for it. A couple more outdoor courts, not really asking for much, just a little bit more pickleball and a little bit more community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vic Cornelia, and you're going to hear a little more on pickleball. Hooray, hooray. South County. I attended the same function last year at the same time. We had the same topics. We brought up the same points, but there's no follow-up. The only improvement we've seen in the year is South County Recreation Center put in a beautiful brand new court floor, and it is excellent. But as it deals with Deal particularly, and the public library area and the Deal Park, there's no follow-up. We send emails in. We just sent a whole barrage of emails in from our members. By the way, South County has close to 1,000 members now on the pickleball list. That's huge. It's like a tsunami, but there are no resources for it. And it's time to respond. We sent emails in, but there were no responses coming back, and we don't know why. So what we'd ask for is if we can get an advocate that would be focused on just that purpose of pickleball development and facility allocations in South County would be greatly appreciated. But I think it's needed. So sending in emails and not getting a response, you all know how frustrating that is in your own lives. It's just the nature of it. So why have the email? Why have the surveys when the survey results, we never hear what they are? But there's a survey that goes out. And so it's time to have that advocate that represents pickleball exclusively for the purposes, and in the South County area in particular. So thank you for your time, and that's the message.
First, I want to thank County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Ledbetter for the opportunity to share input. My name is Joanne Vaughn, and I'm a board member of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. And I want to say it is remarkable to live in a county that can consider all these wonderful things for their residents, whether it's recreation or whether it's the library. And I borrowed more than $100 from the library last year. And these are just wonderful things to have in our community. But food is a have to have. The $1.5 million that you all allocated last year allowed the food bank to distribute more than 2 million pounds of food with 51,000 instances of service every month. This meant that Anne Arundel County residents didn't have to decide whether they would pay the rent or whether they would buy medicine or whether they would buy food. And these are often working families that are trying to make these decisions. Food is a basic necessity. I became a donor at the food bank during the pandemic when the lines for the food pantries came out of church basements and were in parking lots. And I was thrilled to be asked to be a board member for the food bank where I could use my experience to help end hunger in my hometown. So we're asking, even though the need is greater, we're asking that you maintain funding at $1.5 million for the food bank and that you can do something to help address food insecurity in our county. It's an investment in the people that you represent. So thank you for your past support, and thanks in advance for the hoped-for funding, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Scott Polyanic, Leah Paley, and Mickey Love. I apologize, Scott. I'm sure I said that wrong.
Good evening. My name is Scott Poliniak. I'm here to provide the volunteers' perspective on the Anne Arundel County Food Bank to follow up. I volunteered at several locations throughout the past year to witness the impact that the Anne Arundel County Food Bank's mobile pantry program has had on local communities. I am here to ask that the county's budget may maintain the $1.5 million in financial support for what is a vital service provided to the people of our county. The second half of 2024 alone saw AACFB host 25 mobile pantry distributions, giving out 18,000 pounds of fresh produce, lean proteins, baked goods, and shelf-stable items to over 5,300 county neighbors experiencing food insecurity. In total, millions of pounds of food and basic necessities are given annually to low-income households. I recall an afternoon this past summer at Brooklyn Park Library when it was 95 degrees and there was a long line 2 hours before the mobile pantry truck even arrived. The fact that these people were willing to endure these conditions emphasizes both the magnitude of their needs and the importance of the program. In a short time, I've seen this program expand into new areas thanks to driven, diligent leadership along with a growing number of willing volunteers. Again, I respectfully ask you to invest our county resources where they can make the greatest immediate positive impact in our community by maintaining the $1.5 million in funding for the essential work done by the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here for the bonus points, so I'm going to be really quick. Thank you, Leah Paley, CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Joanne and Scott said it all, so there's not much more to say. So I just want to strongly urge you to consider our request to maintain funding at $1.5 million. And thank you for all you do.
Good evening. I'm Mickey Love, and I'm with Historic London Town and Gardens, and we have some of our board and staff here with me tonight. I'm here to make a request for our organization. We really appreciate the support the county provides us, and we strive to be strong stewards of the site so we can continue to provide residents and visitors with unique experiences that educate and preserve important aspects of our local historic and horticultural heritage. Knowing the constraints that the county budget is facing, we would typically adhere to your request for level funding as we did last year. However, at this time, circumstances are different. We are extremely excited and grateful for the waterfront and pier restoration project that the Department of Public Works will begin later this year at our site. Once completed, it will expand opportunity. It is critical that we receive this extra assistance. Again, we appreciate Again, we appreciate the county's ongoing commitment to historic London Town, which makes it possible for us to continue providing good jobs, reinvestment in the community, and providing the county with substantial return on its investment. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Susan Youngs, Tracy Telfer, and Melinda Keenan.
For years, volunteers in purple shirts have attended budget hearings to alert our elected officials that animal care and control needs your attention. We have discussed the inadequacies of our antiquated, inefficient, and possibly unhealthy facility for both animals and the humans who work in it. ACC does not discriminate by district. The staff is there to help both animals and people who are in need of professional services, no matter where it is in the county. Besides the serious challenges of our aged building, construction of a new police forensic facility right next to ACC has caused a serious and potentially dangerous situation. The existing dog exercise runs are being demolished. Yes, new runs are being constructed, but they are little more than a sidewalk width away from the building. I was thrilled to find out that finally the process of proceeding with a feasibility study for a new building will begin soon. During the process, I asked that every council person and Mr. Pittman come to the shelter and see why the proverbial last straw has dropped and the process of building a new state-of-the-art public access animal shelter must proceed immediately. Thank you.
Tracy Telfer. Yep, purple shirt, you got it. I'm going to paraphrase what I have written because it does go along with the neglect of our shelter being in such disrepair. What you heard is what our dogs hear 24/7, and that's rough on them. It's just heartbreaking, to be honest. I'm an animal lover, so guidelines of standards of care for animal shelters flatly state that, quote, noise must be minimized in animal housing areas. Cat and dog hearing is sensitive, and noise levels that are uncomfortable for humans are likely to be very uncomfortable for animals. The guidelines also say that for noise control and other reasons, dogs should not be in, quote, large warehouse-type rooms. Unfortunately, that's what we have right now. Our dog room houses 48 dogs. A sound engineer with 20 years experience said there is nothing that can be done. We need a new building, please. Let's do that feasibility study. We have volunteers that are ready to jump up and help and do whatever we need to do. Thank you.
Hi, County Executive Pittman. I am here to ask you to fully fund the school board budget. I'm a special education teacher at Shadyside Elementary. Part of the increase of the budget is to fund 155 additional special ed positions, including special ed teachers, speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and special ed assistants. I have been a special ed teacher in the county for 25 years. Caseloads have increased, making it difficult to truly support students. Special educators are overworked, dealing with serious behaviors and extensive paperwork. Many are leaving the field. I love my job. I love my school, and I love seeing the progress that the students make with the adequate support that they need, and I want this to continue. I believe in inclusion, and I believe in the students that I work with, but we really need to adequately staff our schools to make this work. Students with disabilities should be valued and prioritized, so please fully fund the budget to ensure we are able to support children with disabilities.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ravi Pillalamari, Barbara McSherry, Jamie McIntosh. I don't care what order you go in.
Good evening, Councilmember Ledbetter, County Executive Pittman. My name is Jamie McIntosh, Vice President of the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. We need more firefighters and paramedics. We do not meet the minimum staffing standard on our equipment in about 90% of our stations, and our paramedics are stretched near the breaking point. I work as one of the supervisors in the Fire 911 Center, so I see the results of these shortcomings every day. It's my job as the 911 supervisor to attempt to prevent these shortages from affecting you when you have an emergency. In the county, we average 7,000 calls over 7,000 calls a month. That's over 230 a day. Because we don't have enough staffing on each piece of fire equipment, we have to send extra fire engines or ladder trucks on each fire call just to have enough people there to do the job. This means that a fire call in Davisonville might pull the equipment from Deal and Shadyside, leaving those areas unprotected. If we had the proper staffing on each apparatus, more communities would remain properly protected when an incident occurs in another part of the county. Our shortage of paramedics is equally concerning. Over 5,000 calls per month are medical or vehicle rescues. Because of this vast number of calls and the long waits at the hospital, it's not uncommon for only 5 or 6 advanced life support paramedic units to be available in the entire county. As a 911 supervisor, it's my job to try to space those units out around the county to reduce response times. When you suffer a heart attack, stroke, or cardiac arrest, you need an advanced life support paramedic unit to help you within a few minutes. When our coverage is depleted like this, it's extremely hard for me to ensure you will get the resources you need in time, but it's my job to try. District 7 can lose medic coverage with just 2 calls at the same time. A serious call in Shadyside and another one in Harwood would mean only one advanced life support paramedic unit would remain available for the entire area south of Route 214. On top of that, the Arundel Fire Station is one of the busiest areas in the district, doesn't even have an advanced life support paramedic unit. To make the problem worse, paramedics are the hardest fire department employees to hire. Our current paramedics are overworked and many retire at their first opportunity. Our paramedics need pay enhancements to keep them on the job and to attract paramedics to work here. We need more firefighters and paramedics so we can make Anne Arundel County the best place for all experiencing emergencies. This is the exact same thing I read last year, and the reason I read it again is because very little has changed in that time, except the call volume's gone up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ravi Pillalamari. Not bad.
Nice.
I teach math at Annapolis High School. I'm on a mission to get class sizes down. The budget proposed by Dr. Abdel is a step in the right direction. More special education positions and better wages for hourly personnel are two examples. Cost of living increases are not keeping up with the cost of living around here. I'm at the top of the salary scale because I've been teaching math since 1997. So COLA is all the increase I get. The incentives are telling me to go somewhere else. If that's true for me, it's even worse for people below me on the scale, and even worse than that for others who aren't teachers and hourly workers. I'm mostly here for all of them and therefore our students. People leave schools because of workload too. Workload is a catch-22. To improve conditions, we need more people, and to get more people, we need to improve conditions. You can do your part by making it a viable career for anyone to work in a school supporting our students. Education is an investment, not a depreciating asset. You invest as much as you can because you get a return in the future. Please increase the COLA more than 3% to get and keep the people we need to properly serve the public school students in this county. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Barbara McSherry. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Department of Health, School Health Services. We've spoken every year to you, and I just want to give some gratitude too, because since you've been in office, you've listened to us, and you've really changed the way that we've been able to recruit and retain. However, it does continue to be a problem. We're getting up there with every increase that you've allowed for us, but we need to do a little bit more. So we're advocating for 5 additional days. Our personal days are also our sick days, so it's a total of 8. And we don't work for the school. We do work, but we're not part of Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We're part of the Department of Health. So when there's a school break, our people are not paid. So there's some really big breaks, such as the fall break for Thanksgiving, the Christmas break, the Easter break. Our people are not paid during that time. They have 8 personal days. That includes their sick time to stretch over that time, in addition to stretching over the summer, because they're contract workers and they don't get paid over the summer. So we're advocating for an additional 5 days to try to keep our people. We want the best and brightest. We are really great at recruiting. We retain a lot of people, but we have a huge group of people that we're just losing, and the training is very expensive. So we're spending tremendous amounts of money recruiting and training to have these people get trained and leave. And we think that if we do, well, what we continue to do, what you have started doing and continue to do, to keep the people that we have, we need the best and brightest taking care of our children and our health rooms. It's very important. We hope that you continue to support this and support us. Thank you.
Thank you. So that is the end of our list of people who signed up. Is there anyone else dying to speak for 2 minutes on the budget? Now is your chance.
Thank you. My name is Ralph Youngs. I'm a resident of the county, a veteran, and a volunteer. I'd like to thank the council and especially County Executive Pittman for a great transition to a new director, and I hope we can provide the support to make that transition to a new organization successful. Secondly, my family built a house in this district in 1945 when SAVs were a nuisance, when the water was clear, and there was a great deal of dissolved oxygen in the bay. What has disappointed me is the lack of increase in impervious surface in what is essentially an entire county of watershed has been very disappointing over the years. Finally, as a volunteer, a AAA CERT volunteer, I'd like to encourage the county council and the county executive to invest in the coordinators of the agency volunteer coordinators that you have. All of the agencies typically have a volunteer coordinator. They need a lot more support, and we need volunteers to force multiply what can get done in the county. Finally, I advocate increasing revenues to add more teachers, to pay the teachers, to get more special ed, to get more school nurses, to get more firemen on the wagons, and to get more police officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, well, I would like to thank everyone for the great dialogue tonight. If you have any additional comments to share, please email them to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I would now going to turn it back over to our elected officials for closing remarks, and we'll begin with Councilwoman Ledbetter.
Still on? Is it on? Yeah, there we go. I didn't want to get too close. I just, again, want to say thank you all for being here tonight, hearing your words, seeing your faces, just reading your body language even. It's very valuable. It's very meaningful. I know sometimes change happens much more slowly than what you would like. I've been there. I've walked a mile in those shoes, but we are listening. We do hear you, and I'll be advocating on your behalf.
It's so tempting. I've got a list of about 20 different issues, and my staff tells me that nobody wants to hear me go through all 20 and tell you what I think, especially when I then start giving hints about what we might fund and what we might not. They really get upset when I do that. So I won't. I won't go through them. But just know that you were heard. I didn't hear anything that I thought was frivolous. So, of course, we want to fund everything, but, of course, we can't do that. But this was a great mix of some of the big picture issues. We always have our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers, our library folks, and they should be here. And they're here partly because they want you to hear from them, as well as me and the councilwoman to hear from them. And I know that some of you come in here with a specific issue and you walk out with about 10 that you want funded. And that's important. That's the way you build support for funding. I won't go through this list because it's just going to take too long. But really, thank you for coming out tonight and sharing your priorities with us.
All right. Have a good evening.